everybody, it's Kelly of the Can Girls. I'm here in Austin, Texas in our Texas kitchen, and Heidi's going to join me tomorrow. But first I wanted to get a fermentation started. Fermenting takes 2 or 3 days to get the flavors really to blend and meld properly and to get the bacteria to start to grow. So I wanted to start it today so by the end of the trip we can taste it. So let's get going. So I went to the market this morning to get a few things to ferment. And that's one of my favorite things about fermentation is that you can kind of mix up your vegetables and put different things together. There's no precise recipe, there's no ratio. Unlike when you're pickling and canning something, the ratio isn't as important, it's more about experimentation. So what I've got here, some beautiful red beets, some radishes, some parsnips, some white daikon, which is kind of like a carrot, but is a little bit more of a spicy flavor, and then some spring onions. So I'm just going to chop these up and grate them and put them all together. Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. I was just in the kitchen chopping some beets. So I'm chopping these beets a little bigger. You don't have to grate everything. The important part is to expose just a bit of surface area because that allows the juices of the veggie to be drawn out. You can already see, even without salting, the juice is kind of coming out. And with these that I've grated, they're really juicy. There's a lot of liquid already coming out, and I haven't salted these at all. If I were to pickle these beets in a vinegar brine method, I would probably be boiling, or at least parboiling them first. But the whole point of fermentation is that you're taking raw vegetables and allowing them to create their own acid. By adding a little bit of salt and working with the moisture that's drawn out of the veggies, you're allowing it to create its own lactic acid, which will preserve it, which creates that good bacteria like you find in yogurt and cheeses and other things like that, that is good for you, that's beneficial, and that keeps the bad bacteria, anything that would cause spoilage or that would cause a foodborne illness, out. So not only is it fun and easy, but it's really healthy for you. So now that I've got what looks to me to be about enough to fill this little jar, I'm going to put it in here in my bowl and start adding a little bit of salt to it. You can salt as you go, kind of according to your taste, but a good general rule of thumb is about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons per pound of vegetables. I'm going to guess I've got about a 1/2 pound here, so I'm going to start with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and really this is just a regular spoon, so I'm kind of eyeballing here, but add about that much, sprinkle it on, and then just kind of get my hands in there and mix the salt in. Now the salt is doing a few things here. First, it's helping draw the liquid out of the vegetables. So as I mix it in, I can already feel that they're feeling a bit more moist, that the liquid is being drawn out. Salt also just helps jumpstart the fermentation process. And you don't actually absolutely need to add salt to make a fermentation, but it helps not only get it started, but salt itself forces out some of the bad bacteria again, so it's not a bad idea to start with. It's feeling juicy, it's feeling more and more moist as I go, so I'm going to keep mixing it, and then I'm just going to taste a little piece. Definitely tastes salty enough to me, so I'm not going to add any more at this point. In fact, I might add just a bit more veggie to balance it out. While I was out at the market, I picked up some Italian flat leaf parsley. some jalapeno peppers, and this, which I'd never actually seen before, it's an orange mint. So I thought that would be interesting to add to the beets. You can add your herbs to the vegetables at the same time when you're starting the ferment, or you can add them later. The main difference is if you add them at the beginning, they might start to brown and not look as pretty, but the benefit is that you will get more flavor in there. If you add them at the end, it'll be more aesthetically pleasing, but the flavor might not permeate as much. One of the most important things when you're doing a ferment is to make sure that you produce enough liquid so that the veggies actually get submerged under it. And because I didn't chop these super thin, I don't quite have enough liquid yet. So I'm using my mortar and pounding them. You can do this with one of these, or with your fist, or you could just do more squeezing. But the point is to break down those cell walls of the veggies and let the juices come out a little bit more. This just goes to show you the difference that grating versus chopping makes in terms of exposing more surface area and thus allowing more liquid to be drawn out. If you take a look at this one, there's liquid. It's definitely juicy, but I have to squeeze really hard to get it. And if you look at the bottom, there's just, a small amount. Now this one that I've grated mostly with a little bit of chopping, and I haven't added any liquid or water or anything, I've just let it sit. Look if I squeeze it, super juicy, and there's a ton of juice there at the bottom. So that's not to say that you shouldn't chop it, but just keep in mind when you do, you're gonna have to spend more time squeezing, pounding like this to kind of break it up those cell walls again. And you might in fact have to add some water to get enough liquid to submerge the veggies, because ultimately when you put them in the jar, you're gonna need to have your veggies completely under the liquid. Just to show you a little squeeze test, here I've got the chopped ones, here I've got the grated ones. Check this out. Big difference. So if you want to make it easy on yourself, I'd suggest going the grating route your first time around. So this one is nice and juicy. I've got the carrots and daikon and some radish, some spring onion, and a good deal of jalapeno in here. And if you see as I'm squeezing it, it's real juicy, so I think it's ready to go in the jar. I've got my clean mason jar here, and it's gonna be messy. Again, this isn't gonna be shelf stable, so I'm not worried about keeping it sterile or anything like that. I'm just gonna start dumping it in. And as I go, I'll see if I have enough liquid to keep the veggies submerged. See, as I pack it down, it's getting squished. And with this, you want to pack it all the way, and the most important thing here is that the veggies are under the juice. They're all in the juice. So a few ways you can ensure that. One, you can just kind of pack it down with your hand and make sure that you have a good level of juice above it. You can also use something like this beet that I've cut to about the right size, maybe a little too big. Let's see if I can get it in. Shave a little bit off. You can basically use this as a plug. There we go. To push the veggies down so the juice rises above. So see, now I've got everything and I've got this nice level of juice hanging out on top. If you decide to chop your veggies, or if you don't have enough juice for whatever reason, that's okay, you can add water. But one of the risks with just adding water straight is the chlorine content. A lot of municipal water has chlorine added to it to kill off bacteria, but that also kills off the good bacteria that we want in here. So I've taken some water and boiled it, just just so it gets to the boiling point, and then cooled it off. You want it to get to about body temperature, just cool enough so that it's not hot, that's going to burn, or that's going to kill off the microorganisms. So now I've got everything below the liquid. I'm just going to simply add the jar lid on top, clean it up a little bit. And there you go, it's good to go. It sits out at room temperature. I'm just gonna leave it right here on the counter. After a couple days, 2 or 3 days, it's gonna develop a flavor. It's gonna have that fermented, tangy flavor, but that's just the beginning. If you keep leaving it and keep tasting it every couple days, you'll notice that the flavor continues to develop, continues to get more tangy, more tart. When it gets to the point that you like it, go ahead and put it in the fridge. It will continue to develop and ferment a bit more, but putting it in the refrigerator will slow down that process.
With the Can Girls. I'm here in fabulous Austin, Texas, joining my bestie Kelly, and she got our fermentation project started a couple days ago. I am now here to finish up the project and to try out all of our fermented foods to see how well the flavors have developed over the last couple of days. The fermentation process has definitely already begun. I can see bubbles rising to the top, and I've already had to release the pressure on the lids to let out some of the gases that have developed. I'm gonna open up one of these jars to see, yeah, this one's bubbling really well. You can see the bubbles rising to the top. That's a good sign. That means fermentation is happening. This at the top sometimes turns a little bit gray. That's sometimes called the scum, and you just scrape that off. If you are putting a lid on your fermented foods, make sure that you release the pressure daily. That's really important because it could potentially explode. You'll start to even see the lid kind of bubble up a bit. Right here I am going to try one of the fermented carrot dishes that we made. It includes carrot, onion, jalapeno, parsnip, and let's see how it's turned out so far. It's good. I can taste the sweetness of the carrots, the spicy jalapeno, a little bit of onion, and the spices that we added. But I still think that the flavors need to develop a little bit more. Make sure you continue to try your fermented veggies every couple of days or so until you get to the flavor that you like. And then once I like it, I'm moving it to the refrigerator where I will enjoy it for the next 6 months or so. If you are interested in making your own fermented foods, check out our website and our recipes at www.thecancangirls.com, or you can look on our Facebook page for recipes and other inspirations. Thanks!